yeah, so anyway, parents came here. I'm born and raised on Maui. I had really bad chronic asthma. And so I was a sick child. So people who remember me as a kid remember me like super sickly, always medicated on all kind of different drugs. And then I was on this I don't know if you know the nebulizer, bro.
Is
The
that the
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 yeah.
breathing thing?
So I was on that thing every morning up until maybe early teens.
Wow.
Yeah, because as soon as I wake up, I'd start wheezing, and then I wouldn't even be able to function because I just couldn't breathe properly because my lungs were so weak. And so doctors were saying that I'm probably just gonna have lifetime asthma at that rate. But my dad and my mom, being Japanese, they're like, we don't believe that. So
Oh.
it was actually thanks to their not limiting, thanks to their non-limiting beliefs about modern medicine,
Uh-huh.
we kind of went the hippie route.
Mm.
Yeah, they were kind of more
More
hippie because like
natural
you think
way.
about it like 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, it was not normal to eat spinach,
Mm.
right? It was just not normal. It was pretty standard to eat cereal and some like,
Mm-hmm. That's
normal
true.
stuff, box foods. And we started eating vegetables. I hated it. I was like, dude, why are we eating? This sucks. Like, give me my freaking Frosted
Yep.
Flakes.
Yep.
Frosted Flakes and Captain Crunch was my go-to
Yes.
cereal. And I was like, but this is like right when dial-up internet was coming out. You know what
That's true.
dial-up internet
The
is,
no, I know like the
bro? Yeah, dial-up internet. So it's like super slow,
oh
and it's like it's so slow that I don't even think you can watch 144p YouTube videos. I think it
oh
was
that
that
means
slow.
the stuff was like blurry then.
Very.
Wow.
Oh God, I mean, we can talk about blurry and all kind of different stuff when you're a teenager, Jesus. But um, yeah. So anyway, so I was a sickly child, and during my middle school at EL school,
Uh-huh.
I met my teacher, Mr. Soon, who I reconnected with. Mr. Jordan, no, not Jordan. That's the nephew. Kiola, Mr. Kiola Soon.
Mm.
He was my seventh and eighth grade PE teacher, and he would always see me with the inhaler. And so I
Mm.
wrote about him in my book too, but basically I would always have my inhaler with me. And I couldn't really participate in PE at the time because I would just sit on the side, and if I participated, I would have to use my inhaler.
Oh.
And so I remember one day after class, he said, Yanagita, we're going to go, I'm going to have you run every day after school because do you want to overcome this asthma?
Asthma.
And then at the same time, my parents were also in alignment with me going the hippie route of trying to strengthen my lungs naturally through it was actually swimming and running.
Mm.
So that was my first two. I hated it. Plus, with all the drugs and everything, I gained a bunch of weight. So I was like, I think the
Mm.
doctor said I was 40 or 45 pounds overweight,
Oh.
and I was starting to get really high blood sugar. So like borderline pre-diabetic,
Uh-huh.
high blood pressure, because when you're all drugged up, you eat whatever.
That's true.
It's not good. And then I wasn't exercising until that year. And then I remember just trying to even run across that park, Wells Park,
Wells Park.
EL School Park.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was trying to run that park, and I couldn't even run one way without needing my inhaler and my lungs closing up. And so my PE teacher would come, he would sprint to me, hand me my inhaler, and then help me get back up.
Dang.
And then I'd run again. Nowadays, if we did that, that's a lawsuit, right?
That's true.
Right? Because imagine that you go
That's
to a
true.
public school, and then your teacher, but it was a verbal agreement. We handshook on it. My parents were in on it too.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about it, like if you're collapsing because of asthma, and then he gave me the inhaler. But long story short, it went from trying to run 100 meters, which isn't that far. That's just like down like a parking lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't even do that. And then I was able to go half a lap without needing my inhaler. And once I saw progress, I was like, oh, I got to keep doing this. And then once I ran a full lap the first time in my life without needing the inhaler, I was like, but I needed it after I did the one lap. I forget how many weeks it was, but I ran one full lap. And I thought, I can do this. And then I ran two, and then I forget how many laps it was, but he eventually had me run a 5K. Yeah.
Ooh.
And this was late 7th, early 8th grade. And then once I ran a 5K, you know, your confidence soars, right?
Yeah.
Because, and then at that point, I'm able to swim. It wasn't much, but like 10 laps in a pool.
Oh, that's still pretty.
Right? I worked up to
That's
it.
hard.
And I'm glad because my dad had the belief system because his experience, him and his brother, my uncle,
Mhm.
had really bad asthma, and they overcame it through swimming in Japan. Yeah.
Oh.
And so they were strong on doing cardio to strengthen my lungs. And then I read a book at that time at Borders. No, no, we don't have Borders. You remember Borders?
No.
Dang,
Is that a show?
Borders! No,
movie?
not a show. It's a bookstore.
Oh.
It's what Barnes and Noble is kind of is today.
Oh.
And it was at the old. Do you remember Sports Authority?
Yeah. I
Okay,
know
good,
Sports
good, good.
Authority.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So
used
it
to
was
shop
over
there.
there.
Oh,
That was actually
okay.
Borders back in the day,
Before Sports
but
Authority.
before Sports Authority.
Oh.
So I would go there initially to buy my Dragon Ball Z manga books.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'd pick up my Dragon Ball Z books, and then at the same time, it was like I was like, you know what? I kind of want to learn more about this fitness because if it works for me, I just want to learn more about it. Yeah. And at that age, you start getting asked like, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, what do you want to do when you're an adult? You're like 14 years old. You don't really know. And I still remember it was like an old school like boot camp book because boot camp was the thing, outdoor boot camp. And I remember reading through. I was like, wow, you got to learn math and science. I suck at both. But at the back of the book, it said something like personal training. You can charge like $40 an hour, or something like that. And I was like, oh, I mean, obviously not that simple, but I was like, oh, okay. And but of course, it doesn't talk about selling, marketing. But I was like, oh, you know, maybe I could do this personal trainer one day.
Yep.
And then I just don't read that book ever again for the next. Actually, I don't. I think I got rid of it somewhere in high school because I lost my dream. And then I go to high school, and then I started getting bullied. Yeah, because now I'm this skinny, like frail-looking kid. Because I did all this cardio, right? I lost all the weight.
And
But
you
I'm
didn't
like,
need that inhaler no more
I
after?
didn't need the inhaler anymore.
Wow.
By freshman year in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. So the doctors, that was the first time they said, this is a special case. And this is kind of borderline miraculous. Are you guys faithful in anything? And we're like, yeah, we're Buddhist. They're like, you know, and then they kind of went that way. But I was like, no, we just put in a lot of work. And I almost died a bunch of times. And there was one time I didn't have my inhaler. So that freaked me out too. But